Hey, what's up, guys? This is going to be a review video for operations with decimals. The truth is, in Algebra 1, we're going to be using a calculator, so you should really almost never have to be doing long side calculations for multiplying or dividing or anything like this with decimals. Also, true is that we're going to try to not use decimals very much. Having said all that, I think it's really important and critical that everyone knows how to do operations with decimals if and when they need to. So adding and subtracting, there's only one key step, and that is line up the decimal so that you're subtracting the ones from the ones, the tens from the tens, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have, for example, 3.7 minus 1.18, you can't do like, you have to write them down with the points lined up with the points. So let me rewrite it as 3.7 minus 1.18. If you need to add zeros for placeholders, you can add zeros for placeholders like this, and then subtract them vertically down, keeping the decimal lined up. If you remember how to borrow from like elementary school, you can say like, cool, I'm gonna like cross out the 7 and make it a 6 and borrow and make it a 10, because 10 minus 8 is 2, and then 6 minus 1 is 5, and then put my dot, and then 3 minus 1 is 2. Alternatively, if you like, you can just look overall at this value 70 and just try to do like 70 minus 18, and that's going to be 52. So whatever you're most comfortable with for those subtractions, the key is you line up the decimals. Second thing I want to mention is just use common sense. When you get the decimal in the wrong spot, your answer will be completely wrong. Like obviously very easy to see that it's wrong. So I have like a number that's like close to 3 or 4 minus a number that's like close to 1 or 2. So like my answer should be like 2 or 3. Not 25, not 0.2, not 18, not something weird like that, but something like 2 or 3. So I look at my answer, I'm like, oh, hey, 2.5. Like that looks very reasonable. Almost every time you make a mistake with adding and subtracting decimals, you could have noticed there was a mistake when you just look at what you were doing and see if your answer makes sense based on what you started with. Okay, for multiplying and dividing, you are going to multiply and divide as if there was no decimals at all, and then just count how many decimals you had. It's a fancy trick. It's basically like multiply everything by 100 at the beginning, work it out, and then divide everything by 100 at the end. The results are going to be the same because the multiplication and the division cancel out, but you're able to do that intermediate calculation without having to worry about any decimals. So say we've got 4.5 times 0.63. I don't know, this is disgusting, but write it down, 4.5. and then 6.3 with a decimal. So we're basically going to just pretend that we're multiplying 45 by 63. But that's the same as like this has to move the decimal over 1 time. This has to move the decimal place over 3. So I have a grand total of 3 decimals that I have moved over to kind of morph into this problem. So at the end of the problem, I have to move the decimal place 3 times back. Kind of cool, kind of, not too complicated. But anyways, that's what we're doing. Let's rip through this real fast. 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Put a placeholder 0. 6 times 5 is 30, put a 0, carry the 3. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 3 is 27. 5, 3, 8, 2. And I had to carry 1, 2, 3 decimals. So 1, 2, 3. So my answer is 2.835. Let's check common sense. 0.63 is less than 1. So my answer should be shrinking. 2.8 is less than 4.5. That's a good first pass. 0.63 is a little bit bigger than half, which would have been 0.50. Half of 4.5 is 2.25. My answer is a little bigger than 2.25. So I'm building confidence that I've done this correctly. And of course, just rip out your calculator. In all honesty, in reality, if I had this, 4.5 times 0.63, 2.835, I'm going to do that because it takes about 8 seconds instead of a long time. But that idea of checking your answers, making sure that they match intuition and common sense is still really important, right? If you got the decimal place in the wrong spot and you put 28.3, I would say, oh my gosh, are you crazy? 4.5 times 0.63 is going to make the number shrink. It can't be 28, right? So always use common sense. That's the number one thing I'll say with working with operations on decimals. Check your answer for common sense and be reasonable. All right, that's a great review. Hopefully ask questions in class in person, come to office hours if this didn't solve your problems. And I look forward to seeing you soon.